I'm going to add that. Schedule for now. Am I on? Should be on. Let's see. Schedule for now. Yeah, okay. No one's here yet. One watching. One person watching. Hello there. Hello, hello. Let's spread the word. Let's see. I'll just spread this out there. Give me a second, guys. Okay. Why is Facebook so slow? Let's see. Live. America is burning. Yeah. Oh, that filled up quick. Hey guys, how you guys doing? Surprised. Be right with you. I'm just gonna tweet this out before we get full steam. Go full steam ahead here. Let's see. Tweet. Live now. Okay, that's that. And hold on, almost finished. I'm just tweeting this out here. Okay, be right with you guys in a second. Close all this other shit. Oh, I should tell. Yeah. So someone asked me if I wanted to have them join, but the truth is, I don't want pussies on the program tonight. I'm not saying that guy's a pussy. I mean, he's not a pussy, but I don't want to pressure anyone. I'm on. Let me see. I'm on watch, and you can tell me if you want to join. Let's see. Okay. Actually, I wouldn't mind getting someone on who knows what the fuck they're talking about. Hey guys. Okay. Well, put some glasses that appear. I'm not dressed appropriately for today's discussion, which is basically the fact that America's burning. I spent the day at Legoland. Okay. So how you doing, Tokyo? So paying attention to my kids, you know, not really to what was going on. Did not realize this was happening. You know, didn't realize that all these racial things were happening. And okay, so let's see if we can review what is happening now. Okay, do a little review, and you guys can educate me. I do welcome your education. We want to learn something. Yeah. Okay. So I went to Legoland today with my kids. And while I was at Legoland, the world just got more and more crazy. Of course, we have to have strong zero. I prefer whiskey, but these last a little bit longer. So let's get to it. Okay, we're gonna be discussing a non-monetizable subject today, which is the racial wars of Japan of America. So on the way back from Legoland, by the way, reopened on the 23rd, and social distancing is king right now in Legoland. There are long lines. There are people lined. Staff is lined up to tell you to stay 2 meters away from each other in line. The aquarium is closed. All the enclosed areas are closed up, so you can't spread any coronavirus. But I might be mistaken on this, but as far as I know, in Aichi Prefecture, where Nagoya is, we've only had one case in the last 10 days or so. Okay, so very little here. Today, from what I've heard on the internet, I don't know if this is true, I think Tokyo had 63 cases, so that's fucked up. That's bad. I feel like someone should get on the internet and just yell at Tokyo and yell at Kyushu, you know, and Hokkaido. Those are the areas that are all fucked up. Apparently, though, it's very possible that the Kyushu, the Tokyo cases, or maybe it's the Fukushima cases, Fukuoka, sorry. The Fukuoka cases are clusters, which means like, you know, small groups of people in one specific area. Anyway, on the way back home, I saw that protesters were burning down police stations in Brooklyn. Is that still happening? I don't even know what's happening right now. It's hard to stay on. You know, one of the things I regret, the many things I regret. Well, you know, I don't really regret, but one of the things you have to kind of give up when you become a father and all that crap, which I hate bringing it up because it sounds like an internal excuse. Because, you know, Hiko Simon doesn't seem to have a problem with it. Hey guys, hey Tony, hello, the Angel Whisperer. Is that, you know, you've got to prioritize your kids, especially when they're tiny like this. So, you know, sometimes you don't know what the hell's going on in the world. So I feel like I'm not an adult. It's not Brooklyn, really? Protests over Georgia Floyd spread from Minneapolis to New York City. It says New York City. Is it not Brooklyn? I thought it was Brooklyn. Maybe it's the Bronx. Let's see. It says New York City, but I'm not sure where. Okay, well, I don't see where it's happening. Anyway, let me know what's happening. Hey, how you doing, man? Target store. Huh, well, they should burn all Target stores. No, I like Target. I shouldn't say that. Yeah, so my wife and I were talking on the way home. The kids are asleep in the back because they're dead. You know, they had a great time. Hello, Red Value. Hello, Nico. Minneapolis, yes. Okay. I heard they were burning down places in Tokyo or attacking places in New York City. Atlanta as well. I know that, but anyway. Okay, well, good. I'm glad to know. I hear Ohio too. I see photographs of Ohio happening. New York City. So my wife says to me, she says, so racism really is a problem in America. It's, you know, and it's kind of a funny thing for a Japanese person to say, but also completely, you know, expected. I mean, Japan is a bubble. It's an island, and we have no egregious. Well, we don't have black and white racial problem for sure. I'm sure there's a lot of silly white people who think, okay, Brooklyn and Manhattan. Okay, Brooklyn. So not burning down stations. Okay, good. So there are a lot of. This is something that pisses me off. But there are a lot of white. They don't even have to be white. Let's just say foreigners who live in Japan, who think they understand what it's like to be black, because they experience some kind of racism here in Japan. And I always think, oh, you guys are so stupid. You just, and of course they, you know, they don't. It's like those people who protest the COVID-19 lockdowns and say this is akin to slavery. It's not. Or this is tyranny. It's not. People are so stupid. I mean, and I'm sorry, but Tokyo, really? Oh, no, I haven't seen the protest. Are there protests in Tokyo as well about this? I'm surprised. My impression of Japanese is they don't understand this kind of thing. And you know, really, just I don't tweet too much. When I do, I try to keep it educational. But in case you're watching my tweet is Japanese for morons, and I usually do Japanese. Yeah, this is my Twitter handle. But I usually do educational stuff. I don't usually do this kind of political crap. I do political crap on another channel another tweet handle called "Give Me a Break, Man." But Oh, the protest in Tokyo about the arrest of a Kurdish guy. I don't know about the Kurdish. I don't know that story. Well, what do you know? Thank you. So like I said, that's the thing. I don't know what's happening. I went to Legoland with my kids. On the way back, I realized all these things were happening. But yeah, I mean, there's so many things you can say about this. Number one, it's impossible to understand unless you're black. So I see like Neo Beetle. I guess you're black from your what's it called, avatar. So a lot of people, you know, pretend that they can understand, and even me, who's a minority, I'm a minority as well. And some people would say, oh, well, I'm a minority in Japan. Well, yeah, but you're not a black minority in America, and that's really the only thing that will give you the right to say you could possibly understand what the hell's going on. But I see on Twitter, you know, I read the tweets about from mostly I think black people saying everyone calling out people for being silent, you know, and you're being silent, and anyone who has a big platform, you know, you have to speak up and use your platform. You have to people who are afraid of being political, you know, like Michael Jordan, for example, you know. No, Quint ranking. I didn't say you shouldn't try, but honestly to pretend that you do understand, no, you don't understand. We can't understand. There's an excellent South Park episode where I don't remember, it was like years ago, but the one of the characters' fathers was on a game show and he had to guess what's it called, Wheel of Fortune, and he had to guess the word, and it was N blank GGER, and he said, you know what he thought it was, which is a bad word, the N word, but actually it was Nagger, Nagger, and of course, you know, all the blacks in the show gave him all the shit for it, and automatically he was a racist for guessing that. And the show concludes simply with this message that, you know, unless you're black, you're just not going to get it. It's impossible. But yeah, I mean, of course we want to try to sympathize. But here's what bothers me a little bit. Well, first of all, Twitter is toxic as hell. I don't know how people stay sane on that platform, because there's just so much crap. So many people calling each other out, and everyone is so upset. And I think even stupid things like really stupid things like, what's her name, Taylor Swift telling Trump that we're going to vote Trump out in November, and then other people dogpiling on Swift and saying she doesn't appreciate all the support that Trump supporters have given her. And I'm like, Taylor Swift is supported by teenage girls and Japanese teenage girls too, and international teenage girls. So, you know, to tell Taylor Swift that she owes something to Trump supporters is just ridiculous. But that's the kind of ridiculous conversations that are having, you know, people proclaiming that everybody owes something to somebody else. And you know what's funny to me? It's that it's all monopoly money. Twitter is just monopoly money. And this is all coming off, you know, none of this is scripted, by the way. What's the point of saying you wouldn't understand unless you're black? Well, I'm saying don't pretend. Don't pretend you understand. So no, and black people know this. Black people know we cannot understand. Okay. But one of the problems is that because they think we don't understand, some of them think we don't care. Is that my daughter? No. And that's what I'm getting to. So on Twitter, I see a lot of blacks who are calling out, for example, Hispanics like me, saying, "You Hispanics should get up to and join us and fight for us too. You know, why are you being silent? Or you guys with the big platforms, you know, you're at fault too because you're being silent." And the thing is, I mean, I don't think you should join in a discussion unless you know what the hell's going on. So, you know, but we should try to understand what the hell's going on, and we should try to understand, and we should try to do something about it. But yeah. Can you understand what any race is if you're not that race? That's a good question. I don't think you can understand You can express fraternity, yes. No, I don't think you can understand what it's like to be a black in America. I think you have a better chance of understanding what it is to be a black in another country than in America. Definitely a Japanese person, which is what I'm referring to. You know, what kind of started this. It was interesting for me to hear my wife say, "Oh, I guess racism is a real thing," you know, in America, because she doesn't know. She's never lived in America, right? Exactly what Quint Rankin is saying, and that's what I said. I said I think it's a small-minded, divisive, to blame other races for not supporting the black agenda. That's over something like this, because I don't think it's just about being black. I mean, you know, of course, you can completely make the argument that this wouldn't happen unless he. That's all right, no problem. This wouldn't have happened if you were white. We can completely make that argument, and it's a believable argument, of course. But it's a hypothetical, so we never really know. Hypotheticals are impossible to argue. But he was a human being, and it's a tragedy that he died. And I think everyone should be expressing solidarity in that sense, and everyone should be expressing fraternity and showing sympathy and demanding solutions to something like this. But the thing is, these and again, and don't misunderstand. I'm not saying they shouldn't be burning down police stations, and we should try not to be violent and kill people and stuff. But you should not be also. Did we start drinking already? Yeah, just this is actually my second one. I see a lot of white people calling out the black people who are protesting, and saying they should be peaceful. And there are a lot of clever and accurate reminders, like, hey, white people don't like kneeling when Colin Kaepernick is kneeling peacefully. They don't like that kind of protest, and that didn't seem to work. So maybe we should try a different kind of protest. So I can understand that, you know. Does it accomplish anything? No, I guess not. You know, I can't really say anything, but except it does it does accomplish one thing. It gets everybody talking, and maybe people will listen a little bit more closely. Maybe they'll really listen this time. But you know, I don't think so. You know what's going to happen is they're going to burn down. They're going to protest a lot and burn down a lot of police stations, and maybe even kill some policemen, and some protesters are going to be shot and killed. You know, and nothing's going to change. This will happen again next year, or in a few months, or in a few weeks. Another black person is going to be killed for some ridiculous reason, right? And of course, from a black point of view, we can completely understand how they're pissed off when. Oh, thank you, Logicast. Yeah, I had surgery 2 weeks ago, actually. So, cheers to that. They're just using that man's death as an excuse to riot and loot. Haha. No. But another problem with this that I have, one problem I have relating to all of this is that I do my best to not be tribal about in the way I see myself. I used to be part of. I've been part of groups. I've been the manager of a rock and roll band, and I enjoyed that camaraderie we had. And I owned a bar with 3 other owners, and I enjoy working with everybody. And I enjoy being part of the team, baseball team, soccer team. I was captain of my soccer team. I enjoy being part of a group, but it's never been an ethnic group. I've never felt. Hey, go ahead, John. I've never felt like I'm a Hispanic. So. I remember I was a taxi driver in college, and I was coming back on a Sunday night. Finished my night. It was an early night. I had a good early night. It was like midnight. Must have been early. Must have been like 11 p.m. And this yellow Corvette cut across 3 lanes of traffic, hit the car in front of me, causing me to brake suddenly and bump that car very tenderly. But still, I was in the accident. I was involved. And the driver of the yellow Corvette was a Hispanic girl. And when the cops came, they told me, they said, okay, don't tell the cops that she was driving, because I guess she didn't have a license, but the boyfriend was sitting in the seat, he had the license, right? And the cops came, and look, I speak Spanish, but I've never seen myself as part of, what do they call it? La raza. What do they call it? Do they call it El Raza? I've never considered myself as a member of the Hispanic group, as in a tribal way. Of course, I recognize I am a Peruvian American, but I've never felt like I got to hang out. Like I didn't hang out with all the spics in high school. We didn't have any. I can say that because I'm Hispanic, right? If anything, some of my white friends would tease me once in a while. They'd say "chinga tu madre," or what would they say? I forgot. They the few little dirty words that they picked up. They would tease me with that. But hey, Tom Miguelis, man, there's a guy who could probably shed some humorous light on this somehow. But this is one of those things where that's another thing I'm kind of curious about. But trying to tackle something like this, that's a comedian's job, is to try to tackle something really difficult like this, something that everyone kind of stays away from because it's too soon for one thing, but it's also a very difficult topic. Anyway, the point is, I never felt like I was part of that. I didn't have that tribal mentality, which I think it's a positive, but also makes it difficult for me to kind of understand why people feel that way. Feel like they have to belong to that. I'm a black person, and I see myself as a black person, or I'm a Hispanic person, I see myself only as a Hispanic person, or I have white friends. Hey, is Hiko here? No, Hiko. Hey, Tribe New Zealand. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know how. I haven't talked about this with Hiko, for example. By the way, if anyone wants to get on, you're welcome. But I didn't invite anyone on because I fear that anyone that comes on will just be a pussy about their comments and will be afraid to talk about what I don't want people to pussyfoot around this topic. Everyone's racist, for one thing, including myself. I'm racist. I've had very many negative experiences with many different kinds of people. I'm kind of racist against all kinds of people. But about this tribal mentality. So when I was in a car accident, the cops came, and the Hispanic guy, he turned to me and he said, when I was speaking English to the police officer, he accused me of betraying my race, and I was like, this has nothing to do with race. We were in a car accident, and you fucked up. Why am I gonna like? I got fired for that. I got fired for that accident. So fuck that guy. So what does Hiko say? Well, when people are differentiating people based on race, I could understand how that would. Yes, exactly. So I understand wanting to take solace and the mentality of wanting to do that. But the thing is, I've never been in that situation, and I've never felt that desire to be tribal. So I don't have that mentality. And I know people who are Hispanic who feel that way. And I know white people, Hiko, you are not one of those people. I mean, you're white, but I know white people who honestly fear that they are being marginalized, and they are the new people. They are the new minority, and they fear that in 20 years or 30 years or 40 years, they will no longer exist. And they're tired of being blamed for everything that's wrong with society. I know white people who are very sensitive about it, and I can't appreciate that attitude either. I kind of think that's silly as well, right? Yeah, you're as white as it gets, but you know how to do that tribal dance that New Zealanders do, which is kind of cool. I think that makes you a little bit black. Do the police really kill black males all the time, or small figurative events at national and international headlines for a big story? Well, Jojo, statistically speaking, there's been arguments that it's not really nearly as high. But the thing is, when you have it on cell phones and it's in people's faces, I mean, all kinds of people suffer injustice and injustice every single day, but not like that, not in your face. That kind of thing is pretty rare. Anyway, what I'm saying is, I understand the tribal mentality, but I don't have that tribal mentality. So it's hard for me to sympathize with that or quite understand that, because I don't see myself like that. And then when I see on Twitter people calling out, everyone's calling out all the silent people for not stepping up. Like I saw a tweet, like I just mentioned, about the black people calling up Hispanic people for not stepping up and fighting for them or joining their cause. I don't think I should. And it wasn't like please. It was like you should be ashamed of yourself, kind of. They're trying to shame you into it. I don't think that's the way to go about it. And what Hiko says is right, of course. So this guy's going to get fired, right? Or these 4 officers were fired. But I mean, people get fired for much less, right? What was the guy? The Bush, the guy who was with Trump when Trump said grab him by the pussy. Remember that? So the guy who was in the bus with him, Bush, the other TV host, whatever, he got fired for just being there, for just hearing that. Anyway, that's a ridiculous example. But what I'm saying is, people get fired for much less. It's just ridiculous. But this week has been crazy, right? It all started with what's his name? Armand Arbery, right? The guy who was jogging, and the 2 white, I want to say hillbillies, right? I want to say the hillbillies, they attacked him and shot him, and they weren't charged for months until people protested. So, here's something good about the protests. It does get things done. People protested about Armand Arbery death, and no one was arrested, and they protested, and finally some arrests were made. Now three people have been arrested for murder now. Another story that I don't really know much about was the cops broke into the wrong house and shot some guy's girlfriend and then arrested him for shooting at the police, even though they busted into the wrong house. I forgot what her name is. Brianna or Briona. Hey, Kathy, how you doing? And then there was the Cooper girl, the white banker, who in New York City just showed what kind of white man mentality exists out there by saying, I'm going to tell the police that an African American is threatening me. And when you throw that in people's faces, of course you should. That's the other thing. Who said maybe this is statistically not really true? Well, but it all happened in a period of 2 or 3 weeks, and a lot of it just this week. And then on top of that, what was that? The Cooper case, right? Yeah. I mean, that shit is happening all the time. So, and the other thing is, blacks are a minority in America. What is it? I don't even know. Is it 20%? They're a minority, so of course, they're going to feel targeted. So someone came up with a solution a while ago, and it was in a stand-up comedy show, actually, but I think it would work. And the solution is very simple: make all police officers black. 13%, okay. 13%. Maybe Hispanics are 20%. I don't know. Somebody look it up. What percent of USA is Hispanic? Maybe there. I think they're bigger than blacks now. Is it? 16.7%. Okay, so 16% are Hispanic, and what is it? 12%, 13% are black. Native Americans less than 1%. God damn it. 72% are 17. Thank you. Go to. 72% are white. So there you go. Yeah, I saw that. Why so serious? A protester, I think a teenager was killed today. But the thing is, this has been happening for years and years. That Peruvian guy who killed, what was his name? Trevor? The Trayvon? Yeah, Trayvon, right? And it goes back. Why can't we all just get along? Rodney King. It goes back. It's just been happening for years and years and years. Nothing's going to change. Yeah. Oh, that's fucked up. Yeah. Anyway, I just wanted to come on and tell you it's a difficult problem, and it's interesting that Japanese don't understand this at all. But of course, not unexpected, not surprising. Hiko, if you want to come on, you're free to come on. Trayvon Martin. Trayvon Martin was killed in self-defense. Completely different? I don't think so. Yeah, that's a completely. He still was killed. He was killed, and he had a. Did he have anything with him? Oh, come on, really? That Peruvian guy shouldn't have been fucking with him in the first place. Street police units need to be mixed race: one white, one black, one Hispanic, one Asian. Space Force. I saw episode 1 of Space Force. Not impressive. Episode 2 gets a little bit better. I think I'm not gonna waste time with TV shows that are shit anymore, unless IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes tells me differently. Yeah, I disagree, Quentin Rankin. No, I completely disagree. He was approached by someone who had no business approaching him in the first place. So, anyway, we'll disagree on that. Okay. Yeah. So when it comes to TV these days, I try not to waste time on things that are shit or not exemplary. Space Force got a 7 on IMDb. I guess that's not that bad. Great cast, by the way, there. But I was watching Space Force. The first episode today, and I was just watching it, and I was thinking Fred Willard died shortly after this was finished. John Malkovich is a great actor. What's her name? The girl who plays his wife. I forgot her name. The girl from Friends. I forgot her name. God damn it, what's her name? Anyway, I was surprised she was in it. She's Lisa Kudrow. She's in it. But I was just thinking, I feel like they're in a vacuum. Like, how can anyone make this humor when America is burning? Space Force is just it's about the fake bullshit Space Force military brands that Trump has made. But it stars the great Steve Carell. Yes. Anyway. Okay. Anyway. It's on it's in Japan, it's on Netflix. It's got a great Chinese comedian. I forgot his name. He was in oh my god, that what's that comedy about? I love that comedy about Silicon Valley. He's in Silicon Valley. Yes, the terrorist. And yeah, I was thinking about all the tragedy that's been happening recently, like the terrorist girl who committed suicide. And they're talking about her. Someone asked me if they're talking about her in the Japanese media, and of course they are. Like, Japan is infamous for being racist towards non-Japanese, and it's partially true for people who are half. I like some Japanese comedy. I think it's important if you ever come to Japan and you want to learn Japanese. I think it's vital that you watch Japanese TV. That's the biggest mistake that everybody who's trying to learn Japanese makes, is that they don't watch enough Japanese TV. You need to get your listening up. I had a great tiring day with my two kids. I have a 3-year-old and a 5-year-old, and we went to Legoland. I'll show you a few pictures if you like. Not that, hold on here. Just a second. Let's see if I can, how do I do this? Huh, hold on, please. I'll share my screen with you just to change the tune. But I was watching Space Force and I was thinking that it's kind of fucked up, you know, like that we can, how can we be making comedy when all this is happening, which is kind of a silly thing to say, I think, but I mean, I agree. But hold on a second. Okay, here we go. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. How do I do this? This way. Share screen. There we go. Okay. Can you guys see that? Okay, so went to why is this way? Sorry. Here we go. It's a little bigger. Went to Legoland, and you can't touch these guys anymore. They'll just stand in the back while you take pictures. These, of course, are not in order. Oh, how do I get these in order? These are not in order, but took pictures with them. Well, they were wearing masks at the beginning. Sometimes they're wearing masks, sometimes they're not. But we had a good time, and it was really full comparatively. A lot of things were closed, so this is not too exciting. So I'll go through this quickly. But my daughter's a real ham. You can see she loves the camera. My son is a little bit in his own world, but she likes posing for the cameras. You can see. I'm quite proud of her acting ability there. But anyway, yeah. This is what they allow you to do now with yeah. This is what they allow you to do at Legoland. You can't touch the characters. You just can stand in front of them and get your picture taken like that. See, that's kind of funny, I thought. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yeah. Anyway, okay. I'm the doting father, but I'll leave you out of there. No one. How's the sanitation? Oh yeah. So I already talked about this a little bit, but Blindfolded 06 asks about Japan. We've had no new cases in this prefecture in the middle in Nagoya at all. But Tokyo had 63 cases, I believe, today, and Fukuoka had quite a few, and so did Hokkaido. So these three areas are still pretty bad. C-Cross 04 says, what are some Japanese children's shows you'd recommend for basic language learning? The problem is you can't really see them on, I don't know if you can see them there, but there are great children's shows. Like Okasan to Ishoni is a show here in Japan, which means playing with mother, basically. And that's a great show. Even I learned, like I'm watching that and I'm like, oh, I don't know that. They'll just teach basic stuff to kids. What I would say is, just watch your favorite show on Hulu or Netflix. And if they have a Japanese dubbing, dub something, that's a good way too. I enjoy doing that because, you learn to say something that someone in English would say. So it's a little easier that way sometimes. Okay, so Big Puff Daddy says, a good friend of mine was half Japanese, half Kiwi. He mentioned that he had quite a rough time in school as a child. I hope that some people grow out of that. I've heard of that. I've heard of people who are half and who are pure who grew up in Japan and had their asses kicked. But to be fair, that happens everywhere. I don't think that's distinct to Japan. I mean, I was like one of the only Hispanic kids in my school when I was growing up, and people would use that as a reason to kick my ass or try to kick my ass. But you know, everyone, the thing is, kids are cruel and they're going to find a reason to fuck with you. And it isn't like Japanese kids don't bully each other, because they're infamous for bullying each other. Wasn't it you saying that there was no racism in America when a black man from Ohio asked Tobias about moving to Japan because he was dealing with a lot of racism in the USA? No, I never said that. That makes no sense at all. Why would I say that? There's racism everywhere. I'm sure I've never said that. B1. B1 News Channel? What is this? That's a weird thing for anyone to say. I'd be very interested to hear who said that, though, because that's a crazy thing to say. No, I said my wife commented offhandedly, well, I guess there really is racism in America. There is racism everywhere, yes. And like I said, racism is something that you can't rationalize. You know, it's based on experiences and maybe false impressions that you get from the media or whatever. So just, some Japanese are racist against blacks, and they even use an N-word not knowing that it's a bad word. Are you finished talking about the racist issue? No, I'm not finished talking about it. So there are a lot of Japanese who are ignorantly racist against blacks because they pick it up from the media, from Hollywood. So you can't really blame them, because they're just regurgitating what the impressions that they get from Hollywood. Like, all blacks can play basketball and blacks are thieves. You can't trust them. This is what I've heard from very nice Japanese people, because they're completely ignorant. They've never met a black person. They've never lived in America. And they assume that that's how it is because that's what they see on TV. You know, television and movies are kind of interesting, because you'll always see. I've always noticed that the police chief is often black. You ever notice that? Like, I think in the Lethal Weapon movies, for example. You know, but not even just that one. Oh, no. No, someone asked me what I did today. How was my day? So I went to Legoland. So the thing is, I went to Legoland and I completely missed out on what was happening in the world. I came back and realized that the whole America was burning. Yeah, so Balkan 3321 says he was discriminated against as a white person when he was in Georgia. So yeah, that kind of thing happens. Of course, tribalism exists, and people tend to hang out with their groups and discriminate against other groups. That's kind of natural. Racism, in a way, we can say, is natural. People like to hang out with people who look like them. But you know, you've got to get. I kind of want to say that it's childish. But it's natural, and as an adult, an intelligent adult, you've got to get past it. So I'll give an experiment. Not experiment. I will testify. Okay. I did not know many blacks in my high school growing up. I think we had maybe 2 or 3. Okay, maybe 1%, 2 or 3 out of like 300, or less than that, maybe 150 in my graduating class. And that was it. And that was, you know, they were jocks. So they're great athletes. And I didn't, you know, we ran in different circles. I didn't really know them too well. I went to New York City. I became a taxi driver, part-time job, when I was at New York University. And I would work long hours, 12-hour shifts. And the truth is, from my experience, which is a scientifically invalid thing, it's not scientific. It's scientifically invalid. It means nothing. It's just my own experience. But here's something that I learned a long time ago. No matter how invalid your own personal experience is, even if it's completely invalid, it is the thing that will influence you the most. Yes, exactly. Anecdotal. I was just about to say that. Anecdotal anecdotal experience is much more powerful in shaping your attitude to the world than actual scientific experience. Yeah, so as a taxi driver and picking up everybody, here's the one thing I'll tell you about me. I never denied anybody. I picked up everybody. I didn't care what you were. If you flagged me down, I would pick you up, okay? However, blacks usually did not tip, often would not tip at all. However, on occasion, there would be one black guy, or not one black guy, but on occasion, one black guy would overtip, like super overtip. And in a way, it's almost like they knew, like, yeah, we don't usually tip, but thanks for picking me up. So I'm going to give you a huge tip. And I would get like these huge tips once in a while. So it kind of evened out, it kind of evened out. But I was, through my own personal experience, I was kind of, I learned to expect nothing. Okay. There are no Uber drivers in Japan. Uber does not exist in Japan yet. Only Uber Eats exists here. There's no Uber in Japan. They're a real taxi driver. I mean, if you use Uber, a taxi will come. And on a few occasions, I would pick up a group of black kids, and they would run away at the end of the trip. Okay, they would run away. However, I've only been threatened twice as a taxi driver, and they were both by white guys. One guy with a gun, one guy with a knife. There was this huge black pimp I picked up at like 3 a.m. one day, and he was scary looking in that he was so huge. I mean, a huge man, and he could tell I was scared. And I was in a taxi that didn't have any divider or anything, but he was like, "You're scared of me." I'm like, "No, I picked you up, didn't I?" He goes, "No, man, you're scared of me." And he got really angry because I was scared. And the angrier he got, the more scared I got. He was really outraged that I was scared. But it's 3 a.m. It's like a Tuesday or Wednesday night. Nobody's out. I'm in the middle of some far away from the city. And anyway, he even said, he goes, "Why would you think I'm gonna rob you? Why would I fucking rob you? I make more money. I got more money in my pocket than you make all week." Something like that. I remember that. He scared the shit out of me. But he paid and he left, and there's no problem. But the only people who threatened me were whites and 2 Hispanics. So I was never threatened by a black person. Right? But my experience taught me that blacks don't tip as a taxi driver. So in a way, I guess that makes me that gave me some expectation. So I think racism is kind of if you let those expectations dictate the way you behave, then that's racism. Right? Anyway, YouTube Gary is a Uber. He works for Uber Eats, not Uber driver. Xenophobe. Xenophobes are Japan is famous for. I didn't even know the word xenophobe until I came to Japan. It's an appropriate word for Japanese. Japanese are xenophobes, but they're ignorant xenophobes. Like they just don't know, right? And my kids go to school. They're both half, of course, as far as I know. And they have no problems, but they're only 3 and 5. And I see. Here's the other thing. I'm kind of a more of a positive person, but my attitude is this: if other people can do it, then you can do it. So yes, there will be hurdles in your life, whatever the hurdles are. Maybe they're racism, maybe they're other things, maybe they're handicaps. You will maybe it's poverty. You will have hurdles in your life that you've got to get over. And you can blame those hurdles. You can blame racism or bullying or whatever, or you can do what other people have done with who have had exactly the same hurdles, and that's jump over those hurdles. So I don't really pay too much attention to that kind of stuff. That's my attitude, and it's not a tribal attitude. Of course, it's easy for me to say because no one has ever put their knee to my neck. It's never been that way. Right? When I worked as a server, my black coworkers did not want to wait on black patrons. Yeah, so I mean that kind of stuff happens, but again, it's not everybody. Xenophobes and xenophiles. That's true. They exist as well too. I'm trying to look at some of your. I don't want to skip all your comments. I'm going to go back a little bit and look here. Big Puff Daddy says it's common here in New Zealand. Racism is handled differently country to country. When I grew up, it was predominantly humor. So that's another thing that's interesting about what we call racism. Of course, it exists everywhere, but I'm from Peruvian background, and I visited my grandparents and cousins growing up. Every other summer, we'd go to Peru, and I would spend the whole summer there. And of course, in Spanish-speaking countries, I don't know about Spain, but Peru and I assume Central and South America. Well, I did. I traveled through Central and South America. Physical attributes were okay to talk about. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't a big deal to point out. I'll just talking about racism. Just if anybody comes here. What am I doing today? So we're talking about racism. Physical attributes were fine to talk about. If someone was skinny, you'd call them flaco. If someone was chubby, you'd call them gordo. If someone was black, you'd call them negro. If someone was Asian, you'd call them chino. So actually, all the Japanese people, there's a lot of Japanese in Peru. They were all called chinos, even though they weren't Chinese. They were Japanese. Yeah. Big Puff Daddy says it's more productive to work at something despite the cards you're dealt. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. There was a guy who played fighting games competitively with his mouth because he had no hands. He won a lot. You mean he out-argued people? I don't know what that meant exactly. What news do you watch? I watch. Oh, he's talking to someone else. Okay. Nationalism tribalism can be detrimental, but on the other hand, I think it's also a necessary protective mechanism for minorities. Yeah. So no, I agree, Robert. Ryan. But I'm just saying that I've never had that mentality, so it's difficult for me to really sympathize with that. But I completely see how it's useful, and I myself like belonging to a group. But my groups have never been tribal. They've never been like I don't want to hang out with Americans necessarily, and I don't want to hang out with Hispanics necessarily. I definitely don't want to hang out with people my own age necessarily. So I mean, there's all that, or my own sex. Anyway, out of curiosity, the people that threatened you did it so they could avoid paying? No, they were kind of on drugs, Uriel. They were high. Both guys that threatened me, the guy with a gun was high on cocaine. The other guy, I think, was high on crack. Yeah. Anyway. Being tame, trust me, in the U.S. is a different world. Yeah, the thing about the U.S. is that there are two U.S.s for sure. There's the white. Well, I shouldn't. I don't even have to say white. There's a safe U.S. and there's the unsafe U.S. There's crime, and there's injustice. And then there's the other part where nothing ever happens. And well, anyway, here's something else. Other things I've been thinking about. None of this shit ever happens in Japan, but racism does exist in Japan. But it's on a very minor level. Like, I don't want to rent to you because you're a foreigner, kind of shit. Or I'll date you, but I don't want to marry you because you're a foreigner, kind of stuff. In a way, it's a little bit more open, but it hurts. It hurts, but it's never lethal. How about that? It's never lethal. The worst I've ever seen was, and I'm not even saying this is racist at all, but the most racial thing I've ever seen in Japan is this huge. I'm going to assume he was African. This huge black guy in Tokyo was surrounded by, like, I swear to God, it must have been like 15 police officers. And it was almost comical. They just could not bring this guy down. And I don't know what they were trying to arrest him for, but you know, they didn't beat him. They just kind of surrounded him and kind of, it was almost like a it was almost like a hug. Like, we're gonna hug you to the point where you can no longer escape. Yeah, but you know, very different. Like in the States, if you had one huge black guy that you wanted to arrest and you had 14, 15 cops, you would take that guy down. The other thing that's also very interesting is in Japan, a lot of the police officers study judo. I used to teach the police. I used to teach at the shiaksho, at the police headquarters. They had an English class once a week, and I got that gig. I paid 5,000 yen an hour. I got bored. I quit years ago because I was making money left and right. I didn't want it anymore. Every week they had different students. It was kind of a pain in the ass to do, but they paid okay. Anyway, but a lot of the students were huge, but they were not like obscene. They weren't steroid huge, you know. But American cops apparently are steroid huge, and one of the reasons they are is because of a lot of the people that they deal with also are steroid huge, and they've got to deal with these criminals in America, who are also equally huge. But in Japan, you know what made the news? How about this for comparison? You know what made the news today? Two guys who lost their part-time jobs because of coronavirus in Nagoya, here in my city, found a drunk guy passed out on the street in the middle of town in Naka Ward, near my school. And they took his wallet. And his wallet had 10,000 yen in it, which is about $90. And they stole the money. And you know what? The cops, they saw it they confiscated some cameras that were in the area. They got it all on camera. And of course the guys confessed. They said, yeah, well, you know, we lost our jobs because of Corona. So we didn't have any money to party with. So we wanted to go out and have some fun. But we didn't have any money. So we saw this drunk guy. And we took 10,000 yen out of his wallet. That's the big story. So while America is burning, you know, Japan that's the biggest news story in Japan. But at the same time, you will find foreigners here who will be so adamant that this is a racist, terrible country. Yeah, I mean, racism exists here. Racism, excuse me. Racist exists here, and racism exists here. But it's not lethal. So it's not a bad place to live. Anyway, let's start a riot. I had a massage therapist put her knee on my neck. Cost me $50 for a happy ending. Okay. 071. I can never remember if you're male or female, but I'm going to assume it now that you're a male. Is there racism towards Ainu people? Ainu people. Okay. Well, yeah. How many of Japan is Ainu people, though? I mean, not that. What? Just a minute. This can't be right. I just found something. 200,000 people in Japan. You know what? Basically, they say it's almost completely total assimilation. They're like the Borg. The Japanese are like the Borg. Oh, you know, there's Ainu people in Russia as well. I didn't know that. There's 1,000 Ainu in Russia, maximum. In Japan, there's about 25,000, 200,000, but they're mostly assimilated. So yeah, I've heard a lot of people talk about racism towards the Ainu. But more than racism, I kind of feel it's more, like, again, it's not lethal racism. It's more exclusionary. It's more like, well, we don't want to hire you, kind of stuff, which of course is bad, but it's not like, I mean, you have to compare things with America, where they're lynching people or killing people left and right. So, yeah, huh? It's a very tiny minority. But of course, we always focus on this. Whenever you hear about another country, you find the tiny little things that they did wrong. Anyway, let me see my lung puppy. Where are you, my lung puppy? Police came down hard in protest here in Brooklyn last night. Okay, she's in Brooklyn. It feels so fucked up here right now. I would not mind being in Japan right now. Yeah. American joggers are good people. I'm just looking at your comments. Coors Beers is doing a promotion where they are sending beer to people's home for free if they social distance. That's cool. I saw some old woman put a sign on outside her window saying, "I need beer." And I think Coors sent her beer. Ricky's the one that cried about racism. Well, yeah, a lot of people complain about racism. And the thing is, you should complain. You should. But for me, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it. There's other things. I mean, I've always, I'm not going to say suffer. I'm not going to say suffer, but I've experienced racism my whole life in America. And and most of it's been minor. Even things that white people just don't understand, like people constantly asking where I'm really from growing up. Because, you look at me now, and I think I look whiter now than in Peru. Yeah, in Peru, it's mostly the whites. I'll get to any name in a second. In America, as a Peruvian young person, I looked like a Mexican or a Puerto Rican or a Cuban, depending where I was from. So it was very dark. And of course, no beard and black hair. And people just assumed I was from another country, even though I grew up in America. So people were constantly asking me where I was from. And if I say Florida or New York, people say, "No, where are you really from?" And that kind of thing doesn't seem like a big deal to you, but it does make you feel like you're not part of the country when it happens a lot. And every once in a while, most people were cool, but every once in a while you'd meet a white person who I had people who actually would change the way they spoke because they weren't sure if I could understand, or they would say things like, "Oh, I thought I sensed an accent." When I don't have an accent. I have an American accent, but I don't have a Mexican accent or Peruvian accent or Cuban accent or Puerto Rican accent. So it was, their eyes were fucking up their hearing. And that kind of racism was silly. There was one girl that I dated, and her roommate said, I'm surprised Susan will hold hands with you in public because you're a different race. I was like, really? Because she was white, right? It's just weird shit, like it's not, like, again, it's not lethal. It's not lethal, but it's annoying, and it does make you feel like you're excluded sometimes. You still look Mexican, really? The funny thing is, I'm mostly I'm more German and Italian than I am Mexican. Is there racism in Peru? Yeah, so any name 322 asks, growing up in Central South America, I traveled a lot. I took off a year from college, and I just traveled around. I backpacked around Central South America. Really poor. I mean, I went really poor. I mean, on purpose. I just camped and went to really cheap hotels. And they're basically in those countries, you're basically white and rich, or you are a mixed Indian, and you're mixed Indian and European, and then you're like, you're not second class, but you're a lower caste level. In Peru, you would, well, maybe the word cholo. You're a cholo, or mestizo, or something like that. But every country has their different names. Anyway, America is the worst possible country you could ever live. Diversity is not what you think it is. Yeah. The first time I saw Victor in a video, I thought he was Tommy Chong. That's not. Yeah, yeah. I think Tommy Chong actually. What is he? Is he Mexican or is he? He's got some Chinese blood in him. I've had people think I was Iranian, French, Brazilian, Mexican, Cuban, pretty much everything. Especially you have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. Balkan 321. If you'd like to contribute to the conversation, please do. But comments like that don't really help anything. Wing Star looks familiar. I haven't seen that name in a while, if ever. Okay. I've had someone think I'm Dutch because, yeah, here's another weird thing I was thinking about today. You know the strongest men in the world, those guys? You notice how I'm pretty sure they're all white. I always thought that was kind of weird. But there's some black guys who do like the bench press. And those guys are super strong too, but they're kind of fat. You know, they don't compete in the strongest men in the world contests. Anyway, in Japan, white European looks assumed as Americans. Yeah, pretty much. Which non-Americans get really pissed off at, which again is a tribal thing that doesn't bother me. But apparently a lot of people get pissed off. Yeah. I would, I'm not, here's the thing a lot of people don't really get. I didn't move to Japan because I love Japan. I moved to Japan because I just wanted to learn a difficult language, and I thought Japan is somewhere I could work for a while. And sorry, especially state of the U.S. is the worst place to live. That's ignoring a lot of places. Oh, I never said that. I think they were specifically Balkan 321. I think they were referring to race as a racial place. Wing Star. You like the Howard Stern of Japan. Well, I'll take that as a compliment. What were we talking about? Just a minute. Would I ever move? Yeah, okay, the thing about Japan. I moved here kind of, just on a lark. Like, oh, I'm going to check it out for a year and see if I like it. I'll move back and I'll go back to university, become a professor, teach literature. I'm good at literature. I'm good with words. But you know the old story, guys. There's always a woman involved. Met a great woman. Not so great anymore, but yeah. And then ended up worked really hard to learn Japanese. And after all that investment, we broke up. And I thought, well, I've spent 6 years learning how to speak Japanese pretty well, so I might as well just stick around. And I became the head teacher of a school, and they was the first head teacher they ever had who was a foreigner. So anyway, yeah, that's what gets me. Oh, that there's a song called El Condor Pasa by Simon and Garfunkel. I'd rather be a hammer than a nail. Yes, I would. If I could, I really would. So that's like an ancient melody that the Indians of Peru have. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I should. I have a lot of books. I don't throw away books. So there's an actual place called El Condor Pass where you can go and you can actually see the condors mating and flying by there. It's like way up in the mountain near Arequipa. It's about a 10-hour bus ride up a mountain. And I went there by myself, and there was no one there. Like, the bus dropped me off, and I had to walk a little bit. And when I got there, a few minutes later, or a few hours, I don't remember, a few minutes later, a French guy shows up, okay? And because I looked the way I look, and because I'd been traveling around Peru for a while, I didn't have the backpack, so nobody knew that I was an American. They just thought I was there, so nobody was bothering me. But the French guy, they asked him if he was American, and he was enraged. He was so angry. I thought it was funny. But my point simply being that some people just get so pissed off if you mistake their nationality. It's just silly. Who cares? Jojo says, what's your advice for becoming fluent, as in hours per day? It really depends on the person. But what I would say is, There's an old story about a karate instructor, a karate student who goes up to the karate instructor and says, "I want to become the best. I want to become a black belt as soon as possible. And how long will it take?" He says it'll take like 5 years. The guy says, "Well, what if I study, twice as hard and practice twice as hard?" And the guy says, "It'll take you 10 years." And I don't know exactly. I think people interpret that story a little bit differently. But I think with language, it's a little bit like that. You have to enjoy it. You can't just like drill it into yourself. You have to enjoy it. But what I would say is get one book, just one book. Get an element. Do I have one here? I don't think I have any elementary books here. No. I think I've given away all my elementary books that are at the school. But what I would say is take your elementary book and go through it from beginning to end, and then go through it again from beginning to end, and then go through it again so that you can explain it to another person. If you can explain things to another person, then you've got it. But most importantly, learn to listen. You've got to improve your listening. Yeah. And use your what's it called? Fuck. I forgot to call it. I can't think of the word when the camera's on me. Inhibitions. Like if you got to learn to speak in front of people and be okay with people laughing at you or not understanding you. Because it's frustrating when someone doesn't understand you. I'll tell you something really, really simple that a lot of people don't forget. You want to be loved. Most people want to be loved. People will argue that love is the most important thing in the world. I mean, that people need love, right? But I would argue that more than love, people need to be understood. And even if it's just what you're saying, there's nothing more frustrating than trying to say something that you think you're saying correctly and having the other person not understand what you're saying. It's so frustrating. And it's made me angry on more than one occasion, but you've just got to try again, say it a different way, the piano is something that you don't learn here, you learn here. Language is the same. You don't just learn it here. I mean, it's great if you can explain it, and that's very important. If you can explain it, then you've got it. But when it comes to speaking, it's your mouth, right? Your mouth has got to learn how to say it. You've got to be able to say something quickly without even hesitating, right? And young people are really good at that. Like I'm talking about children. Like children can quickly learn how to say something. So I would say practice a lot. Repeat the same thing over and over until it becomes second nature. You developed an instinct that doesn't exist. Instinct, you can't. The one thing that doesn't really make sense is instinct is something you're born with, right? But you can develop something like a second instinct or something akin to an instinct. Yeah, so just keep at it and listen a lot. But the thing is, the other thing is, do you really need the language? I mean, if you think about all the things you can do, if you don't study Japanese, I've made a video about this, right? You can spend 10 years studying Japanese really until you're great, right? Or you can spend 5 years studying Japanese until you're pretty good, and then spend another 5 years studying the guitar or the piano or something else, right? Yeah, speak up too. Yeah, you got to speak up. One thing I've noticed about myself is even when I make a video in Japanese, and I used to make a lot of videos in Japanese when I had more time. Record yourself and listen to yourself and ask yourself, do I understand what I'm saying? Because I've made videos in the past in Japanese where I don't even understand what the hell I said. Like, I have to ask my wife, what did I say here? Do you understand? Hey, Warrior Wimp, how you doing, man? Good to see you. I'm just winding up. Sorry to see you. Yeah, I'm heading to bed too. get up tomorrow early. But I never watched Terrace House, but I've always wanted to. But that has nothing to do with the fact that it's Japanese. It has to do with the fact that it's a reality show, and I try to avoid reality shows. I just wanted to come on and say hello to you guys and talk to you. My wife is Japanese and her family doesn't speak any English, so I want to increase my Japanese and become fluent. Thank you. You know what? Just keep at it, and avoid. You know what I would say is try to give yourself some pure Japanese time every day or every week. And even if it's only 5 minutes a day, seriously, even if it's just 5 minutes a day, you concentrate on one thing. For example, if you have a problem with one particular thing, tell yourself, okay, today I'm going to try to figure out what's the difference between wa and ga. I'm going to study that one thing. For example, ask yourself one question and try to answer that one question. What happened to the girl that got away? She got remarried. I ran into her in the street a while ago. She didn't notice me. She was walking with a really old woman. And I was on my bicycle and I was kind of in a hurry and I just saw her and I thought, oh, wow. We were, I think, let me see, 5 years apart. So that would make her in her late 40s now. And she never had children. She got remarried. I'm kind of friends with her sister on Facebook. So she never had children. So I always thought, I know this is kind of condescending, but yeah, I thought it was kind of sad. I got that for her because I think she wanted children. So I don't know what happened to her. I mean, we lost touch after that. So why didn't it work out with you? Because she wanted to marry a rich man. That's the truth. She said, I'm sorry, I love you, but I got to marry a rich man. And when she said that, oh, you know what, though? It turned out for the best because there's two things. She never liked dogs. And I got to tell you, that's one thing that always bothered me. And she liked hip-hop music. And those are the two things that, I think eventually that would have graded on our relationship. And she just wanted to be rich. Anyway. Yeah, she was Japanese. That was a long time ago, though. My life now, though, is kind of defined by these kids here, right? So I see these kids and I'm like, I feel like my whole life has been leading up to these two, Even, I'm not ashamed to say this, even more than my wife. I feel like, and I'm sure she feels the same, which is not a bad thing. It's kind of, I feel like these are, like my whole life is defined as pre-children and post-children. But even before those kids were born into my life, I feel like I was just waiting for them, So anyway. No international school. Just going to teach them English at home. They're studying at home. They understand everything I say pretty much. I'm surprised at how much they understand, to be honest. Sometimes I worry, but they pretty much understand everything I say. I test them all the time. I make them do minor speeches in English. But anyway, I want to thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. And yeah. I keep thinking about Donald Glover's song, This Is America. Yeah, it's fucked up, man. So if you're living in America and this is happening, then I don't know what to say, except I hope, I think they're keeping me young, actually. I think they're keeping me young. They're making me more inspired to exercise. I think I'm stronger than I've ever been in my life now. Even after the surgery I had 2 weeks ago. which I'll make another video about some other time. Anyway, thanks everyone for hanging out, and I hope to see you soon. Watch my videos. I'm not dead yet. Not dead yet. That's what I should change the name of this video to. Not dead yet. All right, good night, guys. Hasta la vista, baby.